time has come to relieve that pain. It will be better for me.
The Pain Clinic Pro Wrestling Talk Show. Can you feel the pain?
Good morning, good day, wherever you're hearing this. Good, happy wrestling day. Welcome to the Pain Clinic for April 26th. Holidays today. It's Hug an Australian Day. So if you know one, hug one. National Pretzel Day. These pretzels are salty. And Richter Scale Day. I'm guessing, earthquake stuff. Birthdays today. Kane from WWE, Glenn Jacobs is 58 today. And The Amazing Red is 43. You might remember The Amazing Red from TNA, a bunch of old TNA stuff. Interested in roller derby, want to be a skater, officiate? Rock City Roller Derby needs you. Contact recruitment at rockderbyrecruitment@gmail.com and join Rock City Roller Derby if you're into the men's team. Flower City Fear, FLOUR, flowercityfear.com. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show. I'm your humble host, the Cashman. I'm joined by DC Dan Cole. DC, how's it going?
Good morning, Cash.
Fresh back from parts unknown, right?
Sure, let's say that.
All right. Well, welcome back. I'm glad that it's nice to see your smiling face on a Saturday morning. If you smile, if I can make you smile. So there you go. All right. So we obviously we have a lot of things to talk about today. WrestleMania was last weekend. All sorts of news from every direction. Lots of debuts. So we have some alignments in AEW going in different directions and all sorts of fun stuff. So join us, strap in, and welcome. We're going to start off. We can't help but start off with talking about results from WrestleMania because, it was in our face everywhere we looked last week, and now it's done. And I'm thankful for that. Let's overall WrestleMania. I don't know, nothing that groundbreaking. I mean, obviously, if you listen to the show, any of the biggest things that may have happened, I think we talked about for weeks around here. So it's not like, I mean, yeah, it's surprised when it finally happens and they see how do we get Paul Heyman to align with Seth Rollins by the end of the show? How does John Cena get the win, by the end of the show? But in reality, nothing, I mean, I felt it was very, I don't know. There wasn't a lot of spark in it. Not a lot of, surprise,
All sizzle, no steak.
Yeah. It's like, I feel bad because I don't hate it. It was good. It was okay. But it's not like knock my socks off. Okay.
But WrestleMania is your biggest show of the year. It shouldn't just be good or okay.
I know.
When you tout yourself as the worldwide leader,
yeah,
you're held to a higher standard.
We'll talk about some things from WrestleMania specifically, but nights 1 and 2, I just, there were some things, some things were great, some things weren't. We will definitely, I'm going to jump in here in a second and just go like Mike, night 1, it didn't seemed only obvious that we start off with Jey Uso versus Gunther in a title match because one, they weren't going to be Jey Uso wasn't going to be the main event. So might as well start off the show with a feel good moment. I may have been the only feel good moment of the whole weekend, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're looking at faces and heels and, it was a big face win, it was a great way to start the show. Then we got then the New Day took the tag titles from the War Raiders. This is night one, Saturday night. There were 7 matches in total too, which, you know what, that's fine. You know, I don't need to be out too late any night. If it ends before 11, that's a good thing, especially when there's 2 nights of it. So we got Jade Cargill getting revenge against Naomi, and then Jade Cargill comes out last night and kind of challenges Tiffany Stratton with who did defeat Charlotte in a match. Not a bad match at all. I actually enjoyed that women's match. I thought, and Jade Cargill, I mean, I was impressed by Jade and Naomi as well. And Jade definitely looked the part of the pro wrestler, did things were, had a good match, not to say that I'm disappointed in anything that Jade does, but there's been just some clunky parts in her matches since she's joined WWE.
I was
And
just gonna say, I feel like we were watching 2 different matches because I thought both of those women's matches you just referenced, Tiffany and Charlotte and Naomi and Jade, that's how I would describe both of them.
clunky.
Clunky.
They knew the script, and you could tell they were going by it. I mean, Jade had to be like a decisive win, and it was short. It was less than 10 minutes. I mean, they probably have had made more than a few months to practice this match. So they went out there and did exactly what they wanted to do. And then, like I said, last night, Jade came out and challenged Tiffany Stratton. Actually had a match for most of SmackDown about it, but got interrupted in the end by Naomi, who Jade had claimed that Jade was past, but apparently not being the case. But nevertheless, Jade did beat Naomi. Then we had Jacob Fatu beating LA Knight. Pretty decisive match there too as well. What'd you think, DC? That was
I thought that was the match that over delivered for the night, honestly. I wasn't expecting too much out of that, but that was probably, aside from the main event, the match of the night.
yeah, I agree. And that was I think that I mean, obviously Jacob Fatu flying all around at the end of that match, getting the 1, 2, 3. I don't think that the feud between Jacob Fatu and LA Knight's quite over yet, just because they kind of rehashed it a little bit last night on SmackDown. Had El Grande Americano defeating Ray Phoenix by pinfall. Ray Phoenix first loss, but Ray Phoenix wasn't supposed to be the original intended wrestler, but Rey Mysterio got hurt the night before on SmackDown. There you go. That's a reason not to do to do a wrestling show the night before WrestleMania, and obviously El Grande Americano is it's Chad Gable, incredible wrestler, looks great out there.
I don't know. I've seen them both in the same location.
Yeah, they were. One was getting arrested, and but apparently it looked like Ray Phoenix being arrested at that time. But nevertheless, then we had Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair, 19-minute match, singles match for the women's title. Okay, maybe it wasn't perfect from beginning to end, but it did have it had some good moments, and I think I was really surprised that Charlotte dropped that. That was one thing that was a little bit. Charlotte, did not come out with that title. It just means that they're definitely investing in Tiffany's more Tiffy time, it was, it was interesting, man. I know Tiffy, looked like Tiffy got her teeth knocked out at one point, but, actually it was probably just blood across her teeth that made it look darker in her mouth, but, okay. It wasn't a terrible match. It was okay. I mean, Charlotte Flair, we don't know where Charlotte goes from here. Maybe shifts to another brand or something. I don't know. But last night on SmackDown, Tiffy had was in the ring, and Nia Jax actually came out and kind of interrupted. So Nia Jax is back, yay or boo, depends on how you feel about Nia Jax. Nia Jax apparently at the I've not seen this. I've not, it's only been by hearsay, but they had the roast of WrestleMania last weekend, and Nia Jax kind of got up, and it was a roast. So you kind of are vicious, and Nia Jax, I think, was introduced as someone who's hurt every woman wrestler in WWE, and actually mentions it in her little spiel, as well as shooting on Charlotte Flair and her multiple marriages and plastic surgeries. And it's like, it's interesting because I would love to find a copy of that. I mean, I really am not a fan of Tony Hinchcliffe. So he did get kind of a boo when he was showed at the announce table. I think it was on SmackDown last week, you know, and who cares? He's a jerk. I'm not a big fan of Kill Tony. So I think it's just mean spirited stuff. But, so you felt that was a clunky match, that Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair?
I think that match was hurt by the stigma of the behind the scenes drama there.
Oh,
I feel like I don't know about you, but I went into that match feeling like, okay, Charlotte might go into business for herself or sandbag or be a bit stiff. And that was the impression I got, where it didn't go as smoothly as it would have had it been, you know, two peers kind of seeing eye to eye at the time.
I kind of agree. You know, I mean, I did see Charlotte sandbagging a little bit one time when Tiffy was hiking her up on her shoulders. That's for sure.
It wasn't a bad match, but for the caliber of the talent in the ring, something was holding it back. And I think that's what it was.
I hate to say this, and they always say it on TV, Tiffany's only been wrestling for 2 years. So, I mean, how much can Tiffany, you know, I mean, obviously she's not calling the match in the ring when she's only been a wrestler for 2 years. It's all Charlotte Flair doing it, you know? So I don't know. It wasn't terrible, but then we had the main event, which definitely, you know, you had a great sandwich of, if you consider WrestleMania Night 1 a sandwich, you had a great lead off, you have a great top piece of bread and a great bottom piece of bread. And then there's just everything in the middle. So we had Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk.
I don't know, Cash, if the bread is the best part of your sandwich, I think you're doing sandwiches wrong.
That's true. Well, you know, it's like, but that's unfortunately that's where WrestleMania.
Unless we're talking about like a Monte Cristo, and then no, the bread's the star.
Yeah, that's true. But I will say that's what if this was a sandwich, that's what it was like this past weekend. So, but we got Seth Rollins and so I don't know how people who were feeling leaving it after the result. That was a 32-minute match. That was the longest match of the night. Obviously, it was the premiere match on night 1. It was great. They all went out and they wrestled like crazy. Roman Reigns, man, he sells so well. You know, he got into a point where he was just selling for everybody, and he did it so well. I mean, some of these things look like they killed him. And I started like kind of rooting for him a little bit. I was like, oh, maybe Roman will win. I'm hoping so, because it was but what happened is what we thought would. You know, Paul Heyman, you know, he went around, ring around the rosy. You know, he started with Punk with the chair, and then gave him a nut shot, and then Roman Reigns got the chair and he gave him a nut shot, and then Seth Rollins came back to life after laying on the mat there while all that stuff was going on, and did the stomp, and it was over. You know, I liked it. I was definitely an old school classic wrestling. You know, if you didn't listen to this show or you had no idea what was going to happen, it was an awesome moment. You know, it just, where does it leave? You know, you have Seth Rollins leaving with Paul Heyman. You know, it's like, I think it's just going to be interesting seeing where it goes from here. But what'd you think of that final match?
I thought it was good. I thought it was a bit long, a bit of a finisher fest for me. But given the story they were trying to tell, I thought it worked out very well. And yeah, I think it was Danger Boy who, like 3 months ago, called the finish of that one. So we were kind of not surprised by the outcome, but as you said, some people may have been a bit surprised.
You know what's wild is how many go to sleeps did we see in that match? You know?
I lost count of all the finishers in that match.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought maybe it was another Roman Brock Lesnar we were dealing with.
I was gonna say Roman definitely speared everybody in that match at one point, and we got the every finisher that Seth Rollins could do was done in that match as well. You know, spanning his whole different change in finishers. So, you know, it was an enjoyable match. I just, you know, it kind of left everybody. I guess if you were there, it's like, oh. Even though Seth Rollins does get the biggest pops of the night most of the time, you know, most of the time. But I mean, you know, it was.
I think the biggest thing that hurt it is that's the kind of finish where you want to see what happens next. And we still had night 2 to go. And
Yeah,
you knew you weren't going to get any information on it.
true.
Like, had that been the main event of night 2 of WrestleMania, like, I think it would have been a much hotter reaction.
Yeah, and it was, well, one, it was also early. Think about it. They were 3 hours earlier, so ended like what, 10:30 here, 10:45. So that was like 6:40, or 7:45, 6:40, it was really early there still. There's a whole night ahead, but they were, but because they always, have to broadcast to East Coast times, which is, except for when they're in Europe. But I thought that yeah, a lot of people have said, looking at paper, night one looked better than night two, if you looked at it on paper. But you know what, I think night one had just a couple of good matches. Everything else, I mean, it definitely wasn't. I was hoping for better out of night two. I said, we can get some more excitement going on in night two,
There was nothing I would go back to night 1 to watch again.
yeah, it's tough. It's a tough one. So. Night two, we started off, might as well jump right into it. Io Sky against Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. Everyone thinks Rhea Ripley, is the chosen one and is going to be getting the belt back. But Io Sky, they played up the whole ignoring her through the whole setup, the whole build up to the match, and of course that only makes sense. Io Sky coming out on top in the end of that match. That was a pretty good match, I thought. Actually, it was. I didn't realize Bianca Belair had broken a few fingers in it during the middle of the match, but
That might be the match of Mania.
you think so? Yeah, I think it was really good. It was
You could make the case.
that one, and so we got that to start it off, and then Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. Drew McIntyre gets a clean win over Damian Priest in a Sin City Street fight. I mean, it's really like. If you look at it, Drew McIntyre, has been, near the top or at the top of the company for such a long time that when it comes down to, and Damian Priest, not quite there yet. And that's kind of like, I think why the finish happened like it did, it was a good match still. Don't give me, they traveled all over the stadium. Well, relatively had to end in the middle of the ring, but there was some movement around, going around the stadium and stuff. But it was okay. I didn't hate it for a 14-minute match. It was not terrible. But it did, you wonder where Drew McIntyre is left after that. Though we kind of know because he did kind of come out and challenge last night on SmackDown. He came out to stake his claim. I think it was John Cena. No, who was it? I can't remember. Nevertheless, next up was Dominic.
He came out to confront Fatu.
That's what it was, Joe. Yeah, Jacob Fatu, and that turned into
is
a
mistake.
Yeah,
they need to let Fatu be a beast for a while, and I wouldn't go feeding Drew to him.
No, and it's interesting because that led to a match between LA Knight and Drew McIntyre last night, which turned into Jacob Fatu interrupting anyway. So. Next up, we had it was a fatal four-way for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. I would assume Braun Breaker coming in as champ was going to walk out as a champ, and I would be wrong. Dominic Mysterio got it. Now, I love how this is not the first time Dominic's held belts, so I don't have a problem with Dominic winning that. It was a good match. I thought it was a great, it was, and it was a kind of short for a four-way, about 10 minutes long, but, I like it. Braun Breaker, obviously they tend to get excited only when he's like charging around the outside of the ring most of the time. But it was good. I mean, Dominic he gets the advantageous pin at the end and wins that fatal four-way, and now is the new Intercontinental Champion. What'd you think of that?
Yeah, it's kind of same reaction you had. Short, fast. Did not see Mysterio winning, but not upset by it.
No, he's a boo machine, so it's like that's
except for when he wins the title at Mania, and then he's a cheer machine.
Yeah, I think he could be a face very easily. So, we will see where that goes. Next up, Randy Orton had no one to wrestle. And then all you have to do is say his name and Joe Hendry shows up. And I love Joe Hendry got a match, a very short one. I mean, obviously you don't put someone over he's a TNA champion, he is, you don't put him over Randy Orton on a WrestleMania, which is unfortunate because it went only 3 minutes. I mean, I figure they give him a little bit longer, but it was an open challenge, and Joe Hendry got to get his face all over WrestleMania, which was a good thing because he showed up on NXT this past week as well. So that was, I mean, I was happy to see. That's kind of groundbreaking, I guess, because you wouldn't see a TNA champion on a WWE pay-per-view, WrestleMania in particular, night two. It was, I mean, it was what it was. A lot of people are mad that Joe Hendry lost. It's like, I don't know, it's WWE owns, it's their company, no one's going to get put over their guys, uh, Randy Orton, plays a part later in the show too, or plays a part later in what's going on. But I thought, what'd you think? That was just like, I mean, it was a nice introduction to people who didn't know Joe Hendry, I guess.
I personally loved it. Here's my only problem, Cash. And, is it because I'm a jaded WWE guy and I'm kind of over WWE at this point? I don't know. But do you find it rather telling that probably the biggest moment of WrestleMania weekend and the one moment people have been going back to watch over and over again is a TNA talent appearing?
Joe Hendry. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and Joe, but he was a meme, I mean, he was super popular at one point, so popular that WWE couldn't deny it. And so it makes sense. When I was watching it, it's like, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Oh, this makes complete sense when he came out. It's like, yeah, I think that people are watching it over and over. And, he got an RKO and it was over for him. But I think that there's bigger things in this world for Joe Hendry.
He even got merch out of
Big time,
But yeah, to me, that is just mind blowing. That of 2 nights of WrestleMania, WWE's biggest show of the year, I think hands down the biggest moment, the one people are going to remember, went to a TNA guy.
What I love the best is that he has like a introduction that is done with that zoom in at the last second and everything. They hit it to the T, it was perfect, with him turning around right as the camera was zooming in.
And then incorporating that into the RKO finish was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We're doing it again. I know you can only do it once at the beginning. Don't do it again during the match. So yeah, no, I'm a big Joe Hendry fan. I'm a big TNA fan. So you guys know that. You've been following us for a while. So Randy Orton got his match. Next up was Logan Paul and AJ Styles. So it was a pretty good match. I don't have a problem. It was like both those guys can work. Obviously, it's first time Logan Paul's won, I believe, at WrestleMania. I can't remember. He was like saying he was 0-3 or 1-3. I can't remember, but Logan.
Trying to remember his other matches. I know he fought Rollins, but Rollins beat him, right?
He lost. Yeah. I mean, he didn't have the United States title at any of them. I don't think so.
No, he had what was it? He lost the U.S. title to LA Knight at SummerSlam.
That's what it was. The U.S. title. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So yeah. Was one against Ricochet? I can't remember. I know Ricochet did have that thing at the Royal Rumble, but nevertheless, it was a good match. Don't get me wrong. Logan Paul, I mean, as much as he did have his cronies involved though, which, JJ Styles.
She froze. Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I said he did have his cronies with him. And then AJ, obviously had Cross out there to cheer him on. Cross is trying to make AJ evil again, obviously, and they kind of worked on that a bit. But that wasn't terrible. 17 minutes and 50 seconds, second longest match of the night on WrestleMania.
I was gonna say I thought it could have been a bit shorter, but nothing wrong with that match.
Yeah. Then next up we had the surprise. We had Lia Valkyria with surprise tag partner Becky Lynch defeating Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. I believe we called that on here last week as well. That is like, this is a perfect opening for Becky Lynch to come back. And so now we have new tag team women's champions. It was pretty short. Becky Lynch doesn't look like she lost anything. It was a good match. And that was just to set up the main event,
It
John.
was a pointless match.
It was. I mean, a title did change, and it's like, well, the interesting thing is it changed like the next night.
Yeah.
Monday night, they went back and put the belts back on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Now we've seen that before, but it's like that. I don't know the rationale behind that. Maybe because they want Becky to be a singles. Laya Valkyria is really a good wrestler and is doing a great job since coming to the company. They didn't want maybe Laya to have two belts or whatever with Becky's part of the tag team. I'm not really sure the rationale behind it, but I know in our fantasy league, there was a guy who would have won our league if Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez would have won. And the league ended on WrestleMania night 2, and then they lost, and then they won it back the next night. It's funny. He would have won the whole thing, and then he lost because they lost.
No, I have to ask Cash because I saw the comparisons online and it gave me a good laugh. Are you in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia
Yeah.
guy? Did you see the comparisons of Lyra Valkyria and the trio of guys as the Birds of War?
I did not see that.
I will have to see if I can pull that up for you.
That's awesome. All right. So now we get up to the main event, John Cena, Cody Rhodes. Singles match, undisputed WWE. Big thing that is like a sore thumb sticking out is, where is The Rock? Rock set this match up. Where's The Rock? Rock's not there. He's nowhere to be seen. Does not show up the whole weekend. I am really kind of disappointed because I thought that they had more to go with him, Wow. I know that we don't need him and they didn't need him, but they spent so much time, I saw The Rock came out on Pat McAfee show this past week.
Let's get into this. Is the best part of the weekend.
Yeah. He gets into the Pat McAfee show on the weekend and says the reason he was at the Elimination Chamber was because the guy who's promoting it said they weren't selling enough tickets and they needed more star power. That's what The Rock said. I wonder how people are reacting to this, because he was the one common denominator going into WrestleMania, because he set up the whole thing after that Elimination Chamber match. I don't know. I mean, listen, we all thought John Cena was going to win because, one, John Cena, he's his last year. He keeps saying, I'll believe that when I see it, just because I have heard last year from a lot of people before. He seems to be pretty, I'm waiting for him to get to the point in one of his promos where he goes, there's so many people who say they're retiring and then come back 3 years later, which is probably going to happen with him. So, but because he's just burning everybody now, every chance he gets. But it was a good match. I mean, he won cleanly, he did, did his finisher like 2 times.
I would not call that a good match, Cash.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, it ended the way we assumed it was going to end. So what'd you think?
I thought that was one of the worst WrestleMania main events in quite some time.
I will say one thing. If you're not a fan of wrestling,
number one, it was anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Because everybody was waiting for, like you kind of laid out, everybody's waiting for The Rock, and that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Instead, we get Cody playing dead for 5 minutes so Travis Scott can play WWE Superstar and have a WrestleMania entrance. So you mean to tell me that John Cena sold his soul to get the help of Travis Scott?
Yeah.
That's what I'm picking up here.
Yeah, no,
if you eliminate The Rock from everything that's happened, it changed nothing.
I wonder, I mean, the funny thing is The Rock said he would have done everything different too if he had been there. Things would have
then be there.
Yeah.
Don't insert yourself. He threw everybody under the bus.
Yeah.
He threw Nick Khan under the bus. He threw TKO under the bus. He threw Triple H under the bus.
Yeah.
I think it's time for him to, you piss off, because it's not a good look with Ward, and he can't decide if he's staying or going.
Oh, true, true. You know, he, especially the booking, man, him criticizing the booking, that, they wouldn't have wanted him back if he wanted to change things, I'm guessing, but had nothing to do with it. Came out and talked about it later, and it's like it's bad enough that he talked about it on Pat McAfee later, but Pat McAfee also was getting choked out by Gunther on Monday night, which it's interesting because his cronies from his show were all there, and they all tried to interrupt when it was going on. It was kind of stupid, but he did talk about it. Obviously he's selling it as a wrestler. Pat McAfee goes into kayfabe in about 2 seconds, man. All of a sudden it's like, yeah, I mean, he goes, I make a living talking, and now he's trying to choke out my voice, and it was. But Travis Scott, yeah, that was absolutely unnecessary. I don't even know who Travis Scott is. I mean, yes, I understand he's a musician. He's been apparently training. He's going to be tagging with John Cena sometime during a match coming up in John's last run. But yeah, it was, Cody did lay in the ring for quite a while there. And Cody, I think it was just a terrible, the thing about it was very old school. There was a lot of, like I said, rest holds going on. There was like, when you get someone in a headlock for as long as they were at one point, it's like, you're losing these kids who are watching, so. DC.
I feel like you're going to have to reset your router, Cash. You keep freezing on me.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're freezing on me too. I'm trying to like cut down on some of the things that I've got open on this machine. So that's it for WrestleMania. Yeah.
But I think, you were kind of saying the whole thing about Travis Scott. I don't know who he is either. And then as soon as you say that, you get the people like Triple H being like, oh, he's one of the biggest stars in the world. It's like, okay, great. But I'm a wrestling fan. What does it mean to me? And if you want to have people do that, like for all the criticism Tony Khan gets, Big Boom AJ isn't in the main event of a big show. And he's a big, people know who he is. But to have, I don't understand it, having him play a role in the main event, this match you've built up to be this most important thing. I thought it was a hot mess.
Yeah. I would think that maybe if he came out with The Rock, maybe because that's how they had come out at Elimination Chamber, but not coming out by himself with his own belt, his own hardcore title.
Or at the very least, can he come out to a different damn song that hasn't been in my face all weekend?
Seriously. Yeah. Yeah. It was.
If I never hear that song again, I'd be happy.
Yeah, it's you know what, it's done. I think and that's really why WrestleMania was good, but not great. I mean, it's just, there were some moments that were good, but overall not great. And you know what? They haven't done it yet, but they will probably this week say WrestleMania made more money in the history of any show.
Of course it did.
Yeah, we made, they had the highest audience ever, and all that stuff. And all that stuff going on. But yeah, I don't know. I understand that whole Travis Scott, and he really didn't really have much to do with the finals of that match. I don't think. I mean, he tried to come out and interfere, but I don't know.
No.
Yeah. It was stupid. So then The Rock comes on Pat McAfee later in the
week. You'll get the touting of the economic success of the whole thing, and it was our largest gate. And did you notice this, Cash? So first night when HBK announces the attendance, he announces a sellout crowd of 61,000 some odd. But then the next night, that number is 2,000 more.
Yeah, I saw that. Steve Austin, it was like, yeah, wait a second. How can you sell out?
Like more? if you're a sellout on night one, shouldn't you be a sellout? Like, shouldn't sellout numbers match? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I think, I hate to say
that. Or did they count all the employees and people in the arena?
This is like NFL math. NFL math is if you have 95% of your stadium filled, it's considered a sellout. So there's that 5% that the number can change, after, but that's NFL math. That's not WWE. I don't know what WWE is basing on. I felt that bad that was the only reason Stone Cold came out too. It's like he gets that huge pop before the match, and then that he's just announcing a number and then leaving. So I did get to
And then
see.
drunk driving an ATV and crashing into the ringside area.
I was wondering how long it was going to be out there, or if someone was going to bring it back, if they were going to cut the video so that someone could like move it back, because he walked back up the aisle, or that ramp that went forever. And that's another thing, man. You get them in these big stadiums, man. It's in half an hour to get to the damn ring. It just took forever. It's crazy. So that was WrestleMania. Then, like I said, a couple days later, Rock comes on McAfee and then throws everybody under the bus. So I wonder where that'll stand, because he is a TKO board member. He may have nothing to do with this ever again.
I went through a whirlwind of emotions with WrestleMania this year, because I get mad again, because I'm a wrestling fan. I want wrestling to be good. I want it to be great. I want it to be something I remember. But there was nothing about this year's WrestleMania that did that for me.
No, and
then you get The Rock coming out saying the things that he said.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I feel kind of bad for Triple H because he threw him under the bus. But then Triple H says things like, oh, anybody that's a critic should just shut the F up and just be a fan. It's like, no, that's not how it works. So, I don't feel bad for Triple H anymore. And then you have Randy Orton saying he's embarrassed at the prices they're charging for tickets. And then you got, Bailey saying the things she's saying about being pulled off the card. And I don't know, Cash. I feel like there might be some behind the scenes power struggle or something going on.
Turmoil. Well, at one time, it was about a year ago, that we were thinking Triple H, because of the whole lawsuits and everything, that he was going to be forced to resign from his position, because he was mentioned as one of the executives, I believe, in some of the lawsuit, as well as in fact, all those executives are still working except for Johnny. He's the only one that really, was let go, besides Vince and Johnny. But there's all those executives that were brought up in that lawsuit still work for that company. I think Bruce Pritchard still works for that company. So, it's like, how soon we forget. And, the worst thing I think for me in the whole weekend was, one, Triple H starts the show. Stephanie McMahon starts night
He
two.
never met a camera he doesn't like, did he?
Oh my God. I knew it was going to happen, but we didn't. Do we have to have?
Did he really have to slap up that stupid graphic at the end? Executive producer Paul Levesque.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, it is. And it's that's how I know the shows are over most of the time when that shows up, because you can't always tell. Let's talk about some other stuff. That's WrestleMania. Hopefully they'll do better next year. 2 nights is tough. I will say one thing. Last week we did the show, and then I watched NXT's show, and then I watched the pre-show, and then I watched WrestleMania. I spent about 15 hours, I think, watching wrestling on Saturday. And then Sunday was much the same. I started the pre-show maybe 2 hours or an hour into it. I invested a lot of my time watching that stuff this past weekend. I feel like a loser though, because it's like 2 days of watching wrestling, and I wasn't super happy with how it turned out. So I don't know. But
it was a chore.
Yeah, it was. The good thing it was on in the background, because it was like the only thing that really stuck out to me on the whole pre-show was Vikingo showing up when they bought AAA. Which they made an announcement on Saturday, buying AAA, which is interesting, because I believe Vikingo I've seen wrestle on AEW quite a few times. He is now on, and he actually showed up at WrestleMania. He showed up and he actually helped Ray Phoenix he came out and ran in the ring after after he lost to Americano there. So, but that was probably the only significant thing on the pre-show. I mean, there was, lot of conjecture. There was a lot of talk, I will say, that I'm sure WWE wasn't happy about, talking about some real things during, you know, because they had 3 hours to kill. So they like, what are you going to make up storylines and talk about storylines all the time? They talked about real stuff. And there were some interesting things during but it was a hell of an investment for a weekend. Yes, it's the weekend of the wrestling world focuses on Vegas. And and if you watched it, you know, if I don't know, is anybody in our chat room happy with it? You know, I see you guys all mentioning stuff. What did you think? I mean, did you think it was the greatest thing ever? Because I know there's some people who like have their WWE blinders on that think it's the best thing ever. But I know in true reality, it's not. It wasn't, and that's how I feel at least, and that's how DC feels, and I'm sure Danger as well as Sanderson, Rob Sanderson. He probably you know, there's moments that make you happy. I like that. Tim, like, doesn't putting a metal plate in your mask and headbutting hurt both heads? Yeah. Well, I think last week on the show we discussed you could just put it in before the match. How are they going to tell? You know, if you put that metal plate in your mask. You know, yeah, not the best WrestleMania. So let's talk about some news. We'll get some news and then we'll get out of here. DC, some news from this past week. So after WrestleMania, WWE came out and officially retired the WWE Universal Championship belt, making the end of its run in the sports entertainment. According to WWE.com, the title originally introduced in 2016 is now listed as retired. Finn Balor was the inaugural champ. You might remember that. I think he separated his shoulder when he won it. Through his reign was cut short, one day due to an injury sustained at SummerSlam 2016. The last person who they claim held it in WWE was Roman Reigns, according to them. I think I don't know. It was later unified with the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 38. The unified title is now known as the Undisputed WWE Championship, currently held by John Cena. So, the last person to walk around with it was Roman Reigns. So they invented a belt and then they got rid of it. So they didn't really get rid of it. They just converted it to the Universal Championship. You know, I don't know. I don't know what but that was kind of news this week that they, you know, and also news. I mentioned earlier, Bianca Belair confirmed she suffered a broken finger during the main event. She had last night, if you saw her on SmackDown, she had them all taped up and everything. Some AEW news. We're going to go all over the place right now. After 6 months away from AEW television, Stokely Hathaway made his return during the April 24th episode of Dynamite. I believe it was April 23rd. That was Wednesday. I got the wrong date. He reemerged in a new role, aligning himself with Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler as the manager of FTR and their heel turn. What do you, DC? Did you get to see any of that?
What was that, Cash?
Oh, did you get to see any of Stokely Hathaway coming out with FTR?
I did not have that on my bingo card, but I'm always a fan of Stokely. I think that'll actually be a pretty advantageous pairing, just to help ease the current transition of turning FTR into heels. Just because after being face for so long, I feel like it's just a little forced. So I think that'll be a good thing. I hope we're going to get more added to the group because I just don't see him just being the sole manager of FTR.
Yeah, neither do I. And it's like, but you know, it's obviously definitely a full blown heel turn by the group. I mean, yes, it was a heel turn a couple weeks ago, but now you have a heel manager running you. So at least you didn't go with Don Callis, I guess. That's a good thing. We had a wrestling loss this past week. Steve Mongo McMichaels died in hospice care this past week. They just announced on Tuesday he was going into hospice care, and as the announcement surfaced, Ric Flair came out and said that he had passed away that afternoon. So Steve Mongo McMichael is a former Four Horsemen member, former WCW Nitro announcer, and former Chicago Bear who won the Super Bowl in 1985. Rest in peace. Married to I don't know if he was married when he passed away. I know that he had been married to Deborah, who was married to Steve Austin as well. Very complicated story there, but we sent our best out to Steve Mongo McMichael's family and all the people that care about him. This past Wednesday on Dynamite, rap icon Master P showed up. I don't know. I don't know what I remember. I actually met Master P back when he was
I
part
know
of.
who Master P is.
Yeah, you don't know. You know who Master P is? No. He was a rap producer, kind of like Timberland, sort of. In his heyday, he was like very, he was a big producer. I don't think he did any. I think he produced Diddy and some. Well, I don't want to talk about that, but Master P was on. Yeah, so he had the No Limit Soldiers on WCW. He was like the manager of them long, long, long time ago. And then that brings us back to Kurt Hennig singing "Rap Is Crap," which was against the No Limit Soldiers with Master P. But Master P's son is also a rapper too. I think he was I can't remember what his name was, Baby P or something like that.
Oh God, please don't let that actually be the name.
No, I can't remember what it was, but it was
What's your name, Baby P?
Master P was a good guy though. When I met him, he was pretty cool. He was like, they were backstage at a WCW show in Buffalo, and I just, I didn't know who he was and what they were doing with him. And that was about the time they were starting the No Limit Soldiers. And basically what they did is Master P wanted to be involved in wrestling. So they put a bunch of wrestlers with him, like security guards that were actually wrestlers, and he ended up managing them. It was a brief stint in WCW, but he does, obviously Tony Khan is a fan of WCW because he keeps doing these things I've seen in WCW. And it's like nobody in WWE would give a darn about Master P, but WCW, yes. So we got to see Master P this week. He came out and in New Orleans when they were. So I thought that was interesting. Had some re-debuts this week. Rusev made his WWE television return on Monday Night Raw, came out, which really surprised everybody. He came out by himself, though there is news that his wife CJ Perry signed a Legends contract, so that means she'll eventually come out with him. But Rusev is back, and he's as Rusev. Speaking of being back as your original name, last night on SmackDown, Aleister Black is back, no longer Malachi Black. He actually came out to his old entrance too, with where he launches out of a candle surrounded coffin almost.
As if things aren't bad enough, Cash. Now we get the satanic Aleister Black back.
Oh yeah, it's been a while since we actually could take calls on this show and talk to people. But Aleister Black, he's going to be taking on The Miz next week in his first match since 2021 in WWE.
Coincidence that his wife won a championship match right before he came back?
Yeah, I was going to mention that. It was in my news here too that Zelina Vega won a title last night. She defeated
Chelsea Green.
Yeah, become the second women's Universal Champion, as Chelsea was the first one. I'm interested in why they did that. It's like it wasn't like there was a build up to this match or anything. It was just a Chelsea Green, and Chelsea had the two security guards with her as well, and did not help. And it was good. I'm happy for Zelina Vega. Zelina Vega's awesome. I mean, back when she was in TNA years ago, she was awesome, and she's been awesome everywhere she's gone.
Yeah, it's long overdue.
Yeah, and she does great cosplay too. So hopefully, maybe we'll get some of that again sometime soon. But congratulations to the two, Aleister Black's wife, Zelina Vega, winning the and it was right after her segment too that they did the Aleister Black too. So it's weird how they do that sometimes. They'll have one, they have Naomi and then they have Jimmy Uso out, right after. They seem to do that a lot with couples. And we've seen Seth Rollins and obviously Becky Lynch back to back before and stuff too. But so we got two returns this past week in WWE. We knew they were coming. It just when and how. No, there was no surprise. I think I was calling for Rusev at WrestleMania to take on Randy Orton, and that wasn't the case. So, but it was still a good case from what they did with Joe Henry. But another member of Solo Sikoa's version of the Bloodline is reportedly dealing with an injury Tama Tonga, who was last seen during the April 18th episode of WWE Friday Night SmackDown, has reportedly suffered an injury that could require surgery. The angle that aired saw LA Knight slam Tonga's hand in a car door, a spot that was reportedly used to write him off television for the recovery. So Tonga is currently sidelined with an undisclosed injury, and which is interesting because his brother Tonga Loa is also out with an injury too. So really, the bloodline is two people: Solo Sequoia and Rusev. No, not Rusev. Solo, of course.
Jacob Fatu.
Mr. Fatu.
I think the bloodline thing has run its course.
What they call him the werewolf for? Just because
The
he's
Samoan werewolf. Yeah,
Because he's so hairy. I'm trying to figure that out, but he is, well, obviously, the most talented of the three or four, maybe. I don't know. Because we haven't seen Solo wrestle. Solo didn't have a match at WrestleMania either. And it's like, remember the year before, it was a big deal. So I don't know. Let's jump to, let's see. We talked about WWE with the acquisition of AAA. That was part of the TKO group holdings that happened during the pre-show. WrestleMania 41 Saturday Countdown. That's when Triple H came out with a whole bunch of AAA wrestlers that were in the background, and Rey Mysterio and Vikingo. So it was, like I said, also came out during Rey Fenix's match at WrestleMania. So kudos to them. Tonight, if you want to watch wrestling, got AEW Collision tonight. This is was recorded last Wednesday in New Orleans. It's we're gonna have FTR versus Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly. We got AEW Women's Champ Tony Storm versus Queen Aminata in an eliminator match, which we kind of saw built up on Dynamite on Wednesday. Bandito versus Dralistico for the ROH Championship. Top Flight versus Crew. That's Leo Rush and Action Andretti in a tornado tag match. That means everyone's alive in it. Yeah. Swerve Strickland versus Blake Christian and Hologram returns. And this, like I said, this is recorded Wednesday in New Orleans at the Lakefront Arena. And now it's going to happen right after the NBA playoff game that's going on. So roughly 8:30. So if you're going to watch it, it'll probably be around that time. Definitely want to check that out. Interesting thing too, TNA has a pay-per-view tomorrow night, TNA Rebellion. It's going to be held in Los Angeles at the Galen Center. So you've got it's got a great setup for it. They on the pre-show they've got a three-way with Zaya Brookside, Lee Yang Lee, and Rosemary versus Fatal Influence, which is Fallon Henley, JC Jane, and Jasmine Nix. Also on the pre-show, they got the Walk with Elijah Open Challenge. So Elijah's still out there. Then on the show, Ace Austin, Trey Miguel, and Zachary Wentz versus JDC, Eddie Edwards, and Brian Myers. Steve Macklin versus Eric Young for the TNA International Championship. Ash by Elegance and Heather by Elegance versus Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson from NXT. Dana Looney and Jody Threat versus Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley in a four-way for the Knockouts title. So maybe someone from NXT will be walking away with the TNA Knockout belts. Mike Santana versus Mustafa Ali, Falls Count Anywhere. We have Moose versus Del Vikingo versus Leon Slater versus Matt Cardona versus Casey Navarro versus Sydney Akeem in an Ultimate X match for the X Division title. Already working those AAA guys in there. Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy versus Nick Nemeth and Ryan Nemeth for the TNA tag titles. Masha Slamovich versus Tessa Blanchard for the Knockout Championship. And Joe Henry versus Ethan Page versus Frankie Kazarian in a three-way for the TNA World Championship. That sounds like a really solid pay-per-view. This is Sunday night. You can get it on TrillerTV.com. There is a 60-minute countdown show before that. Sean Waltman's going to be in the corner of Austin, Miguel, and Wentz. So he's going to get a lot of WWE influence on this TNA pay-per-view this weekend. It should be a good solid pay-per-view. Like I said, Triller TV was at like $39 or something like that. But I don't have any other news beyond that, man. We went through WrestleMania pretty quick. DC, anything exciting going on?
No, Cash. Vacation's over. Back to the real world this
I
week.
know, I know, I know. You're out of the country for a while.
It was very odd not being able to watch WrestleMania.
Yeah.
As much as I protest and gripe, I still watch. I
Yeah.
always return to that abusive relationship because I want the best. I want them to change.
I understand that completely. So we went almost 2 hours last week, so I figured maybe almost an hour this week would be the best. I know that there's Rob has got wrestling in Buffalo tonight, so we've got ESW going on in town here. So I definitely might as well plug that. He would have come on and plugged it, I'm guessing. You know, I think it's it's either Buffalo or Niagara Falls, but they're going on. Look up ESW on Facebook and you can find out when it's going on. There's a bunch of other shows coming up, but beyond that, I think we're going to get out of here early today because like I said, I'm overstimulated in the world of pro wrestling. So I need some like good violent movies like Predator movies or something to get me going. But hopefully
Thunderbolts next weekend.
yeah, I know I'm gonna be catching it with Change because his birthday was this past week.
I saw that.
Yeah, and so he's gonna, but he and I are gonna go. We're gonna go to the Thunderbolts next Thursday, catch it early, get it out of the way, and
Hearing good things.
I'm hearing good things too. I'm hearing it's not going to be a happy ending, which makes me even happier, you know? So not that I like sad endings, but you know, like WrestleMania, you know, everything we predicted was going not going to be what the crowd wanted. But I mean, it's something more I like than, you know, I'd much rather have, you know, controversy or, you know, a heel champ or something like that, you know,
And I
that
think it's also maybe it's just a statement on today's world, Cash, where happy endings are no longer realistic or guaranteed.
I mean, of all the people to win titles and stuff, Jey Uso got the happy ending right off the bat.
Yeah.
He's like that.
Like, let's get your feel good moment out of the way. Buckle up for the rest.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed WrestleMania. I mean, listen, like you said, it's like we watch it, whether we are, you know, whether we hating the product or hating what's going on, we watch it because it's supposed to be the best in the world. You know, it's
Right.
you know, and that's what we were expecting out of it. Now, I came out of it not hating it. You know, wasn't, you know, I wasn't like doing cartwheels after watching it, but I just felt that, you know, it was okay, you know, and then that's not what
Which is great for the 11 other premium live events you do a year.
Yeah.
This is the other thing we didn't talk about, and I'm not trying to extend us at all,
It's okay.
but like, did you feel like the entrances, like there was no effort put into them this year?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it's because of the size of the stadium. I didn't think
I did love that there was seating in the set. I thought that was pretty awesome.
it looked like they had tables in there and stuff.
Yeah, they had like banquettes down on the lower level. Very Vegas nightclub-esque.
big time. I thought that was still, you have to know somebody to get those seats, I'm guessing. You know, that's what I was thinking the whole time. It's like I did see, because you could see heads popping over the edge as people were coming down. It's like, oh, look at that. What's going on up there? Because I can't imagine they sold those, but they're, you know, who knows? They find ways to make money out of everything. And what'd you say? Randy Orton was like complaining about the ticket prices?
Yeah, Randy, I don't know if embarrassed was the word he used, but that was the feeling he was conveying. Like, I don't believe we're charging this much for people to come see this.
Oh, you know, especially because even the almost affordable seats, you guys they were like microscopic in size from where you were sitting, you know? It's
Yeah,
like,
you were paying $1,000 a night for nosebleeds.
yeah.
Like,
It's,
never in a million years would I pay for that.
I saw Amanda Huber was there with the kids and everything, and they were up in a suite. I don't know what you could see from where they were sitting. That suite was so far. It was so far from the ring, you know. But that, you know,
That's why the suites have the TVs.
You are 100%. You know, I mean, what it brings me back to when WrestleMania was at MetLife Stadium, and I had to watch it on a screen behind me because I couldn't see what was going on in the ring.
Yeah, the nice corner post in your way.
Yeah, the coconut tree or whatever the heck it was, the you know, the palm tree that they stuck in the corner. Every time I see like a video from that, you know, they'll do like flashbacks and stuff. You know, like The Rock and John Cena. It's like all I could think of is I can't see crap from up here, you know. And that was back. And listen, back then that was $200 a seat. So it was like, I can imagine what it's going to be like. Next year they're in New Orleans. New
Even
Orleans.
more of a reason for them to put on a better show than they did.
Yeah, I think New Orleans.
If you're charging those prices, you have to make it worth it.
Yeah, and you know, I haven't seen a lot of people that have come out and said that they were disappointed besides us, but I mean there's people who are disappointed overall. I mean, you go look at some of the websites that follow wrestling, and they have like the people voting on how they felt the show was, and I saw a lot of B's with seconds of, you know, giving it a B grade, but with the seconds of C maybe, you know.
Anybody that says F is a pure hater. Anybody that says an A has the blinders on.
Yeah, and there's
Honestly, this show was in the B to C territory.
yeah, so
And I think B is more on the generous side.
I think so too. There's, you know, I mean, if you could take like the best matches from both nights and put them on one show, maybe it would have been better, you know. Not to say that we should go back to one night,
But even then, maybe a B plus.
yeah, maybe, you know, it was. So yeah, that was, you know, and it does leave you hanging when night one ends, and that's how it ends, and you're hanging. You know, it's like you can't continue on with this. This is how it's going to end tonight. So I felt a lot of people left disappointed Saturday night. A lot of people, you know, was like, what? Because they all love John Cena. You know, I mean, they all love the good guys, and the good guys weren't coming out on top. You know, John Cena is not a good guy anymore. But by the way, I love his post WrestleMania night conference where he just laid it out and said,
Doing his best impression of Marshawn Lynch. I'm here so I won't get fined.
yeah, he goes, and before that, he's like, I'm going to ruin wrestling if I win this championship.
Oh my God, that was the most pro WWE blinder response I saw, because people were crapping on that main event.
Yeah.
And then someone's like, no, that was the whole point. He intended for that to be a bad match.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, I'm sorry, no.
I was surprised at rest holds. Why are you doing rest holds in a main event match? It's like, I know, I mean, I understand they have to happen, but you know, it's like you can't go old school when, you know, ending the night with, you know, like I said, Cody laying on the mat for 5 minutes, you know, while Travis Scott comes down, because that entranceway is so far away that it took him that long to get to the ring. You know, it was like,
You know, and he has to stand at the top and soak it in for 2 minutes. And
yeah. It's just, I was kind of surprised at a lot of stuff, but yeah. So yeah, I would say C plus. I would definitely give it a C plus, maybe, you know, overall. C plus B minus maybe, but yeah, but I'm curious to see other people's reactions, because, you know, there's people with the blinders on. And listen, we had the Monday Night Raw, which is the most unpredictable Monday Night Raw of the year.
that's over. It's done.
Yeah, it did not happen.
It's done.
If you think them singing Randy Orton's theme song is unpredictable, that's the only thing that happened that may have been, you know, and they've been doing that ever since they came back from Europe. Everyone's been singing Randy Orton's song. So it's like, it was not unpredictable. Yes, maybe some people showed, oh my gosh, Rusev's back. Whoa, you know,
Really, that was the only big thing, right? Rusev came back and Becky Lynch turned heel after their 24-hour tag title reign.
Yeah. And I think
Braun Breaker joined this new, I don't know what we're going to call it, Paul Heyman's new group, a new dangerous alliance.
There we go. I'll take that if that's what it turns into. Yeah, there, you know, that, I mean, that's stuff that would have happened, whether it be the most unpredictable. I think SmackDown, if anything, had more issues, more things that were crazy about, you know, being the post WrestleMania crowd, and it wasn't even there, you know.
Yeah, some tag teams putting on a show, showing that I think there was a bit of the chip on everybody's shoulder in that match.
Without a doubt, that was. And
put that match on WrestleMania, letter grade, full letter grade boost.
Yeah. How else you get a TLC match on a Friday night, man? You should have brought that on WrestleMania, man. That was definitely something that was missed out. You could have swapped out Randy Orton and Joe Hendry, or, you know, or something else, you know, off that show. So on that note,
or eliminate just all of the stupid product placement and live read ads and all of that, and we probably could have gotten that match off.
That's another thing people are complaining about. Why are we getting commercials between matches? It's like, don't we pay for Peacock? I don't know.
But do you pay enough? Do
Oh,
you
yeah, I
pay
know.
for the premium subscription?
What happens if you do the premium? I have no idea what they do in case.
You get all the video clips in between.
Oh, do you? Okay. So
Instead of going to commercial, you get to see those flashy WWE production pieces that tell
yeah,
you why we're about to see what we're about to see.
I'll give them credit. At least they count down the time on the screen, like on Monday Night Raw. On the
You know how long you have to go to the bathroom, grab a snack.
That's right. So on that note, we're going to get out of here. DC, thank you. Thank you. Welcome back to stateside.
Good to be back. Glad I could get back in the country, given my political leanings, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, you are a citizen, so I think you have a lot of years.
I don't think that guarantees much anymore, Cash.
No, I don't think so. So I'm scared to go to Canada because they might not let me back.
I mean, there's worse places to get stuck.
That's true. I like Canada. Canada's my friend.
Oh no, I'm stuck in Canada. I guess I'll just suffer with free healthcare.
I can't come to work. Sorry. On that note, we're going to get out of here. I want to thank everybody who's in the chat room. Yeah, we kind of went quick on it, but it was WrestleMania, man. It was like, it could have been like, oh, that was the greatest thing ever. And it wasn't, because it was hard for us to find things that were that great, So C+ by B-. And, you guys have a great week. DC, have a great week. Thank you guys. Rob, Danger, we'll see you next week. We're going to get out of here. Body Slam Someone You Love. And don't forget all our old shows on thepayinclinic.net as well as on iTunes. We'll see you next week.